views, information, or opinions expressed during the Geeks Under the Influence podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of RVA Magazine, Loot Crate, amzn.to, or their employees. Listener discretion is advised. Fuck off if you don't like it.
Looking at the IMDb list of Scorsese is what really put it in. Like, I knew that he'd made a lot of movies, but then you look at the list and start realizing just how many really important movies he's made, and you go, fuck, like, we've got an hour and a half, hour 45 to talk about this.
I mean, fuck, I forgot he did Hugo. I mean,
yeah, right?
Jesus Christ.
Which is really underappreciated.
Yeah,
that's actually on my list is one of my favorites. I watched it with my daughter when she was like 3, and we must have watched it like 3 or 4 times in a week. And it was very magical, which is unlike. You wouldn't think Scorsese to be that.
Went a lot better than when you watched Casino with her.
Yeah, we just did that, by the way. Yeah, she's scarred for life.
This is how you treat cheaters.
It never pays to be a gangster.
Yeah.
Or even the like the TV shows that he's done work on. I mean, they're premium cable. Like when he's done stuff for like Boardwalk Empire, where he's directed like 1 episode.
Well, of course it's premium cable. You're not going to get him going in to do 2 episodes of 2.5 Men.
No,
like that's not.
No, he's not going to be directing a documentary for PBS.
Martin Scorsese presents Malcolm in the Middle. Like that's not.
Oh man,
it would just be Breaking Bad, like in
I was
Malcolm
say,
in the
like
Middle.
Him directing Breaking Bad though.
Oh
would
yeah,
have been awesome.
yeah.
I could definitely
But that's
see that.
not premium.
No, but that is cable channel. That is not network.
There would have
And-
been a lot more death if he was directing that.
Kurt Sutter would have done well if they like had a guest cameo direct episode of Sons of Anarchy.
Sure.
I feel he could have nailed anything gang culture related or like
Absolutely.
underworld related. Scorsese just king of.
Scorsese could
King
have done
of.
the Ireland season
Yes!
of Sons of
Yes.
Anarchy.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, it would have been better.
I would say it's not a documentary, but he did release, if I remember correctly, he released a bunch of jazz albums, like compilations that he like curated, sort of thing.
It was just Joe Pesci singing jazz.
No, I mean it was like old.
Oh.
It was like old school shit. Like he has a love for music. I mean, I think that reflects in like his documentary culture. But
Oh, you think I'm funny? Funny how?
Oh my
Dance
Wow.
for me.
God. Thank
when
you.
you're looking at a loaded gun, what's the difference?
Oh, we got a third one there. That's
Yeah,
good.
but what's really great though is like some of the people that he really brought to the forefront. Like Joe Pesci didn't do anything until he did Raging Bull.
Yeah.
So, he's brought us some really great and also brought like exceptional stuff out of great actors too.
Well, because before that, they're like, do we need an angrier Danny DeVito? Like, is that something that needs to exist?
nobody wants an angry midget.
Where was Danny DeVito at that?
He was doing
early
Taxi.
early on in that.
Yeah.
He was like, he's in Taxi, he can't do Taxi Driver.
Right.
So pretty much too.
It's way too conflicting.
We don't want to like pigeonhole him into the taxi related movies and TV shows. So.
Right, he was the crazy midget in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes.
Yes.
You have to give it to Martin Scorsese. He is one of the very few directors that gives respect to a killing scene. Any sort of violence is intense, but it's not for nothing. It's not just to be there.
Well, going on what Dan was talking about just a second ago, Scorsese was one of many directors and actors that came up under the wing of Roger Corman.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of the big names that we know now all came out of that camp. And so I think very much so he wanted to continue that. So he found people like, Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci and like brought them into the world.
So all the badasses, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to get into that and more on this episode of Geeks Under the Influence. We're talking all things Martin Scorsese. So, of course, we're going to be talking a lot about his gang films because there are several. I don't know if you guys are aware, there's more than just Goodfellas.
A little bit.
Yeah,
A little bit.
Yeah.
Little bit.
We're going to talk about that, but also a number of his other films that are surprisingly not gang related, but either have De Niro or DiCaprio in it, like every single one of his movies, or that one weird Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Or old Jack.
Yeah, Scorsese's like, I loved leaving Las Vegas. Here's this movie, and Nicolas Cage is like, I'm just gonna Nicolas Cage. He's like, okay, well that's the last one you're in. So, thank you guys so much for listening to our 118th episode of Geeks Under the Influence. Welcome.
Geeks Under the Influence.
Yay!
Yay! Woo! Woo!
You know what the fuck I'm talking about over here. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, forget about it.
Don't be a fucking rat.
Say hello to your mother for me.
Are you a fucking rat? I
That's
can't
my
trust you,
That's
huh?
my Wahlberg impression. Yeah.
Come on, Johnny. Don't make me do this.
Hey guys. Hey internet. How's it going? We're here again with another episode of Geeks Under the Influence. Thank you so much for joining us yet again. I'm excited about this episode and the panel that we have. These are all heavy hitter members of Geeks Under the Influence, regulars that have been on a number of episodes, more than I can count, every single fucking one of you. So let's get it started. To the left of me, of course, is the German, one that is... there's not a whole lot of like gangland German movies because they already did some pretty serious shit back in the like 1930s, 40s. That
He left that shit to Spielberg.
you leave it to like the Russians and the Italians and the Irish, and that's about it.
Kristallnacht was pretty hardcore, I guess, But hey, this is a fun fucking episode.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
This is just an episode for you to feel better that other like cultures are shitty too.
Well,
Besides the German.
I might have been born in Germany, but I'm not from that time.
And also,
I'm not that
you
old.
are half Italian, so
I am half Italian.
Yeah,
So,
there
you go.
There's a fire that runs in my blood.
yeah, we did a we did a genetics check before to make sure that you had some genetic mobster in you before you were able to join.
So
on.
a little Mussolini, a little Hitler, just kind of mashed in.
No wonder
so.
you always seem so neutral.
Well,
It's neutral but hateful, like across the board. The Grutz is
He
here.
walks a fine line.
indeed.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Next to the Grutz is, of course, Fuck You Hunter.
What's up, bitches?
Joining us for an episode all about gangland tales and Scorsese directing conversations, and somebody that's a fan of film, talking about his use of camera angles and pacing and one thing that was discussed before the intro is giving time for the kill scene.
Exactly.
Some of the most glorious kill scenes that I've seen in Scorsese.
Try not hearing Layla and thinking about that scene with the pink car. Like that's,
Yeah.
motherfucker. Like that's in play. Anywhere I go, if that song, that end part of Layla comes on, right instantly I have camera going up, pink Cadillac, dead motherfuckers.
And you want to talk about angles or shots, he has, it's always a side view for him when somebody's about to be offed or is being offed. It's always that side view. It's the face. It's a very intense angle for a director to use, and he masters it.
Oh, he's masterful with the camera. Speaking of masterful, the next one up is the man that can take down a sandwich in 32 seconds, as I witnessed on the patio before we came in here.
That's your bragging rights.
Like
Very
in
nice.
Goodfellas, when dude's getting like gun butted in the face and
pen?
just gets owned in like 4 seconds. That's what you did to that fucking cheeseburger outside. The
Take pride in
Danwich,
that. I was hungry, man.
the Danimal is here,
What's up?
ready to talk all things Scorsese.
Yes. The only person with a vowel at the end of my name that is Italian.
Yeah, you actually have a legit Italian last name.
Yes.
Now, the Irishman in the group, which, by the way, that is the next film, gang-style film that Scorsese's doing in, I think, 2018, a movie called The Irishman.
Don't forget half Italian, too.
Also half Italian, so a man that is definitely two of Scorsese's favorite
I have a bad temper and I enjoy alcohol.
favorite groups of angry white people to write movies
Cheers.
about.
Right.
Kyle Smash is here,
Hello, everyone.
ready to talk people beating up other people.
That,
What's your favorite
some
thing?
angles and like good character, development and things like fuck that shit.
We're just going to talk about people.
We're going to talk
punching
about some of the best, most violent scenes ever put on film
Most
with
violent-
something in a Scorsese movie.
Yes.
Most
absolutely.
violent.
Speaking of violence, Next one up is Mr. Roid Rage himself. The man that almost got kicked out of baseball in the mid 2000s, along with Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire. Mr. Lowdown, Brad MacGyver's here.
What's up, guys?
Ready to talk Scorsese?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so much.
I'm a little intimidated by this topic because it's fucking Scorsese. It's one thing to talk about, like we've done like a Carpenter episode, but Carpenter's a genre director. This is Scorsese, who's considered like an artiste when it comes to filmmaking, and for good reason.
One would say an auteur.
An auteur.
Yes.
Correct. So our little drunk ass is sitting in a room talking about, I like when he makes people hit people. It's just going to be kind of weird.
We're not 5, so it won't sound like that. I think
Not all of us.
You might not sound like that.
Be more of a like, oh yeah, he did.
Well, I can't help you guys.
Yeah, fair enough.
But last but not least, so like your idea of a Scorsese shirt is Romero? Was that what you were going with there?
That's the closest thing to a mafia shirt that I have, because it's the George Romero, the Godfather shirt. Yeah. So yeah, that's what had to work.
Hobbit, who's just doing his thing,
losing on every front.
Like the dumbest motherfucker.
Well, to be
who ever
fair,
lived.
none of us have a Scorsese.
I wasn't trying though. I knew I didn't have a Scorsese shirt.
I knew
wasn't
I
trying
didn't
to be
either.
dramatic.
So
I was kind of shocked.
What I'm wearing. But.
Well, yeah. So I'm the Hobbit.
I said Hobbit. Yeah.
The one, that's failing at life. Thank you, Lowdown, for the intro.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at Mike Bickett, or follow the Geeks Under the Influence Twitter at GUI Podcast RVA. Also check out GUIPodcast.com for all the links to our social media and articles by some of our panelists and friends of the show. Just had Mr. Grutz next to me is writing a 27-day movie marathon article where every day for the next 27 days, starting a couple days before we recorded this podcast, alphabetically from numerical to A through Z, a different, lesser appreciated movie, or just like kind of schlocky genre film, or just a classic that you love.
It's really about movies I haven't seen yet. And I have a big collection, and there's a lot of shit that I've bought that I haven't seen yet. A lot of collections of movies and whatnot. So, I did this a few years ago. I had a great time. I did an A through Z sort of deal, 26 days. And, decided to do it again. And so far I'm having fun. I've got 3 movies down. So,
it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
Keep following for the next several weeks.
And the best way to do it is we're just adding to the initial article for each movie to a different page break. So there's going to be eventually 27 pages of different like reviews and conversations about different movies.
Dissertation.
No shit. The best way to do that is every day on Facebook at the GY Podcast Facebook page. We're going to be posting a link to the specific page of the new movie.
Yeah.
So you don't have to click through to the next page or try to figure out where you last went. If you just follow us on Facebook, you can find the link every day with a link to the newest addition to that article. So, but at the end of it, 27 pages of A through Z conversation about movies. So, find that. Also, a recent interview we did with Dan of the Silverhounds, just released on the day that we are recording this. Silverhounds are a metal billy band out of New Jersey. Which it was an absolutely great conversation and actually got really insightful, and I think went really well. It's a little under an hour, and it's a great time, so check that out at GUIPodcast.com. And on to Martin Scorsese. There's so much to talk about. So much to fucking talk about. Yep, let's raise him for Scorsese. This is like one of the be-all, end-all best directors and auteurs, as Grutz put.
Cheers.
Of all time.
La Familia.
We did this with Carpenter. We had to kind of cut it back a little bit for this episode because it takes a little long to talk about our favorite films. So we're just going to do a quick roundtable on our top 3 favorite Scorsese films. So, Grutz, if you want to hit us off with that.
Well, I said in the Gangsters episode, one of my favorite gangster movies was Goodfellas, which is pretty cut and dry. But I'll go for my top 3 for Scorsese. It's Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, and Gangs in New York, hands down.
Okay. Hunter.
I would go number 1, Goodfellas. It's in my top 10 of any movie. Number 2, it's gonna be kind of shocking, but Cape Fear. I really fucking
excellent
I'm
remake.
such a huge Simpsons fan that I already love Cape Fear, and the fact that the Simpsons took and made Sideshow Bob's theme from that. There you go. So I already love the movie, and then they added a Simpsons.
Great remake.
Yeah, it's an important. He remade the shit out of that movie.
Okay.
And the last one, this is a tough one. I mean, I'm going to probably put Taxi Driver in there. I debated between that and Departed, but
it's tough.
Taxi Driver is just so fucking badass.
Mr. Danwich, the Danimal.
This was really difficult for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, obviously, I've watched so many of these, and I love all of the pictures of his that I've seen, and I'll watch them 10 million times. I don't care. All right. Gangs of New York is definitely a favorite. Goodfellas, and then maybe a surprise to some actually is going to be Shutter Island.
Oh, okay.
That's
Nice
a good
little
one.
curveball there at the end there.
Yeah, because it's just, and that's kind of the whole thing. Like the movie itself is a little bit of a curveball.
Yeah,
and it's more of a mystery than he really ever did.
And kind of a different film for Scorsese.
Yeah.
So I'd say probably the closest thing that he's done previous to Shutter Island would be Bringing Out the Dead, as far as just like a weird kind of.
We're getting on that one.
Yeah,
we'll rip on that one.
Is that second half? Yeah.
Next up is the Smashy, Kyle Smash.
So I'm sure a lot of our choices are going to fall in line. Obviously, Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Which goes without saying. For me, Hugo, and like I explained earlier, I watched that with my daughter and just became. It took me by surprise because it's Scorsese and I wasn't expecting it, but it was such it was a lot of wonder, you know what I mean, and watching it with a kid. And I guess it just that maybe that whole atmosphere, but I've watched it a dozen times since and it still holds up. Great movie. And of course, Taxi Driver. I probably watched it too young and it stuck with me my entire life. I think I watched it at like 9.
So might be a little too young.
So you were basically like dating age for Jodie Foster in that movie, like you
Or
were
he
like
was
where I
Jodie
wouldn't
Foster
have
in the movie.
have gotten shot.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would have been like, oh, Young Love is cute.
Yeah, Young Love is cute. Yeah.
I was like, do you guys go to school together? You know, be like totally innocent, kind of like cool
Keep
thing.
the muscles tight. Oh,
And she's like,
that's
"No,
adorable.
I don't go to school. I fuck adults. Like, and then it would be like really weird.
Very weird. I'm going to take a shower after this
It'd be like
from that statement.
a 9-year-old pimp, like pimping out Jodie Foster.
Harvey Keitel. There you go.
9-year-old Harvey Keitel.
Is that wrong if they're the same age?
By the way,
probably.
That's how I want to put Kyle in the credits for this. Is 9-year-old Harvey Keitel.
No, that's the title of the podcast.
Yeah, that's not about it.
He's still got more hair.
All right. Next up is Lowdown. What are your 3?
Number one is Goodfellas. Mainly for me, though, my reasoning for that is I've always been fond of the narrative, one-person narrative story arc. So that really stuck with me. And then obviously the actors, I knew a lot of those before I saw the movie. And then just the writing, fucking Scorsese is amazing. Second to that, I would go Gangs of New York. That one. I really started to see how much he actually evolved with his camera angles and his cinematography on that. There was a lot of evolution between, like, say, Goodfellas, and we mentioned Taxi Driver and all that, up to that point in the 90s. You know, you figure you're looking at some of those, Taxi Driver was what, 15 years? 20-year difference?
But it's as much as it's a much larger scale movie. I mean, you're talking a period piece, and also like the environment is so much bigger than Goodfellas. But there's notes even in Goodfellas, which is like 13, 14 years before Gangs of New York.
Say about 15 years.
Something like that. 12. Like an example of the scene where they're walking in through the back area in Goodfellas into the main lounge area.
Shot.
That one shot.
Intro to Gangs of New York.
Yeah, it's such a. I mean, you can see that there was definitely a progression, but he already had it in '90 with Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Before he got to Gangs of New York, so. And maybe he just used The Aviator as like just learning new camera angles.
Stepping stone.
So that's why it's
a lot of
shitty
special
film.
effects.
How to film somebody like drawing their own piss. Whatever.
Something they don't teach in film school, unfortunately.
And then third, Taxi Driver. Fucking Taxi Driver,
so
man.
good.
That, and again, that's a narrative style movie, but it's different. It's not the story of a man's life for the most part of his life. It's a story of one section of a man's life and his descent into madness and then redemption and coming out of it. Like I love that.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And piggybacking on that, it's also a perspective of a man coming back from Vietnam.
Yeah.
And showing the damage that it did. That was Scorsese's way of showing what that could do to a man's psyche.
Like what?
And that
this
was
is what I fought for.
Right.
This scum in this.
Right. He comes back and he sees just this, decrepit city.
What's brilliant about the ending of that movie is it really redemption? Is it really redemption? He did the things.
Yeah.
And
Totally did the things.
And it was terrible. And
that's the name of the episode.
He did the things. And it was terrible.
Ambiguous.
He did them.
2 exclamation points.
But yeah, life just kind of went on,
Yeah.
And it was, and yeah, he was kind of, maybe a quasi hero, but not really.
He was an anti.
I looked at him as an anti-hero.
Yeah,
all
but
day.
he kind of has a lot of that theme in a lot of his other pictures. He doesn't just do it in Taxi Driver. He does it in Goodfellas.
Yep.
He also does it partially in The Departed, but even though everybody dies,
It's like Shakespeare right there.
yeah.
Spoiler alert.
You get a lot of that in Gangs of New York, where everything kind of comes full circle, and then even Shutter Island, what I was touching on earlier, you get to see a great development of a character. From the start of the film, where you see so many twists, and then by the end of it, you see his own acceptance, even though he's kind of gotten past. This horrible thing that he did, he doesn't want to live with it anymore.
I have to admit, it was an okay movie, but it was like his half-assed attempt at like M. Night Shyamalaning.
He did kind of Shyamalan a little bit on that
Totally
movie.
Shyamalan in that.
Which, by the way, I don't think we spoiled a whole lot at this point, but yeah, there's going to be spoilers for like every Scorsese movie that's come out. Like, obviously, we can't talk about his films.
That's your fault if you have not fucking watched one.
Yeah.
I want to say, to be fair, he wasn't going Shyamalan. He was going fucking Hitchcock. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll
well,
give you that.
And maybe he didn't achieve Hitchcock. All right, but
By the way, that's what I'm going to call orgasm from now on. It's like I'm achieving full Hitchcock.
And actually, to be fair,
and just go like as I'm coming.
All right,
Oh,
you
you
took
took
it
it
too
too
far.
far.
I just
You did
ruined
it.
But to
All
be-
right.
really, you're gonna go skeet?
Yeah.
On what?
No, that was a creak. That was
sweat
different.
dripping down your balls. All right.
There was no reason to continue
All right,
that.
can we
let's
stop
just-
that?
yeah.
Let's just stop.
That is not where
Hobbit.
we.
He said skeet.
That
It's
is-
his fucking fault.
That is not where we yes
Hobbit,
and.
what are your
Let's-
favorites?
Okay,
Let's-
yeah.
Let me just move on from
Okay,
this.
Listen,
let's- yeah.
I do want to say it's fair to say that the M. Night Shyamalan himself also took a lot or tried to from Hitchcock. So
Failed.
Absolutely.
it's all fucking connected.
Yeah. My three are not far off from your guys's. I gotta put Departed in as number 3. It's one of his more recent films, and by recent films I mean like 11 years ago that came out or something.
It's like 05 or something.
Yeah, I mean it's still
06,
weird to me that that's over a decade old at this point.
The only reason I even have Departed down below Taxi Driver is just because it's a remake, and if you've seen the original, it's hard to watch the original.
It's
and
what
then-
internal
and
affairs.
Infernal Affairs.
Yeah. Great original movie, but Scorsese definitely just puts his spunk all over it in the Departed, and I just watched that last night, The Departed, just to kind of remind myself on how much I loved that movie. Where at the end of it, it's not a short movie.
No.
And at the end of it, you're kind of mad, like, oh, they could have drawn that out another 30 or 40 minutes, but then it would have been going into the 3.5, 4 hour range at that point. So Departed is definitely a solid number 3, which is saying a lot for a director as prolific as Scorsese, that one of his more recent films is on the top 3. Next one up is Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver I watched at definitely way too young an age.
I think we all did.
It was one of those movies that weirdly made its way into the library near my house, and I got to rent it for free. And I guess people just didn't, check ID back then for movies about teenage prostitutes and murder. And so I got to.
It was sitting next to Scarface.
In fairness, I don't think back then they cared because I brought up in our Trome episode way back, my video store rented me they let me rent Toxic Avenger, and I was like 8.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes, they would.
So yeah, I got
Nightmare on Elm Street.
I got to watch Taxi Driver when I was probably around the age of Jodie Foster in that movie. Around the age that Kyle would have been pimping me on the street.
So you wanted to like find a Harvey Keitel. I was like, hey man, you got like a young chick I can go bang?
Do you have like you got one of them Jodie Fosters?
I was saying, I need more than Jodie Foster.
And on the record, I will totally pimp you out.
Dude, at that age, I would have just been like, I like your sun hat, and then just ran like a block away.
Who the hell would you pimp him out to? They'd be paying you to keep him.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go.
All right, so number 2, of course, Taxi Driver, which I'm very excited to talk about on this episode, and of course, number 1, it's number 1 for a number of us is Goodfellas. I mean,
yes.
and weirdly, this is the hard part with top 3 instead of top 5. Nobody talked about Casino.
Right.
And Casino's a great fucking movie.
Oh, that would definitely be in my top 5.
We got one Raging Bull. We one Cape Fear. We missed The Color of Money. The King of Comedy, which is an absolutely fantastic fucking movie.
Yep. Oh. Okay, but the Color of Money again is another remake. So that's part of it.
Sequel.
It's
a sequel.
I still kind of consider it because it's still,
remake.
but it's still the old veteran kind of teaching the new up and comer kind of thing.
And honestly,
so it's like the same movie to me.
Nobody brought up the kind of what started him off. I mean, post Corman, but Mean Streets. Mean Streets is
That's where Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, Mean
That's
Streets
where-
is good.
That's
doing
where
it-
Harvey Keitel came into play.
But doing a top 3, like Mean Streets is good. It's just not gonna push it over some of those other ones.
Yeah, unlike The Color of Money, which yes, it's a sequel, specifically because it's a continuation of Paul Newman's story.
Yeah.
Casino was one of those things. Unlike Goodfellas, which at that time he has been known to glorify the gangster, the Italian family, or the gangster lifestyle, specifically. And for Casino, he went the opposite route and showed how tragic it really was.
Right.
And I think that's where you show his progression, which he has a great ability of adapting his style to modern audiences.
That's one of the reasons why Darren Aronofsky will never fucking win an Oscar, because all his movies are depressing as fuck.
Mother looks so good though. Mother looks so good.
They're
Mother does
amazing.
look good.
Like
This is
his
coming
movies,
off of Exodus.
No.
I mean, like,
Mother looks really good.
let's
okay?
forget about that one.
yeah.
But his movies are depressing. And when the Oscars a few years ago was like The King's Speech and Black Swan, I was like, really? The King's Speech? Fuck you guys.
Fuck you. That movie was good.
Yeah,
It wasn't
it was
Black
good.
Swan good.
It was
No,
a
but
good
it was damn
movie,
good.
but Black Swan was amazing. But all of his movies are very dark. And what you're talking about with Casino was super fucking dark. When you see Joe Pesci get beat to death with baseball
In
bats
the field, he's watching.
Jumps
into
in a
an
cornfield.
open grave, it's like, fuck.
Yes.
dude.
He was alive.
Yeah, and and honestly, it really surprises me how long it took the Academy to kind of piggyback off of yours, how to actually appreciate him. How does it take almost like over 30 years for him to actually win an Oscar? Because he just happened to produce, write, and direct the movie, so he was able to get a Best Picture.
Yeah.
It's insane the fact that Goodfellas did not win Best Picture that year.
No
Lost out
shit.
to Driving Miss Daisy.
No,
Literally a movie
no. He lost out.
Oh, I mean,
to
Dance with Wolves.
Dance
You're
with
right. You're
Wolves, which was.
But
I still agree with you.
it's
good
still
movie,
It's still
but
a good movie.
Come
not-
on. How many people are going, hey, let's all sit down and watch fucking Dance with Wolves?
We all
Like,
know that the Academy panders to the pandering bullshit.
But it's a movie that so many film institutes have voted into like top 20 movies of all time,
Yeah.
and nobody's fucking voting Dance with Wolves as
exactly
a movie
not.
that's going to rank up that high.
Because that was like an emotional movie for that year based on the politics of that year,
let's
and
do-
that's what the fucking Academy like votes on.
Let's do a Costner triple feature. Let's do Dances with Wolves, Tin Cup, and Bull Durham, and call it a day.
Let's do 3,000 Miles of
What about
Graceland.
fucking Field of Dreams?
Fuck that triple feature, man. There's only so much room.
Bull
What?
I
What,
actually
the Postman? You want to do the Postman
Bull
instead?
Durham over
But No
fucking
Way Out.
Field of Dreams?
Well, you do The Postman, you do fucking Waterworld, and you
Oh
do,
God! All right, we talked Waterworld. Now it's getting out of hand.
All right,
and,
fuck off.
and you do
Fuck
Dances
off.
with Wolves, and that's
off.
like 35 hours.
Waterworld. You guys fucking stupid. No, but before we go too far off of it, Grutz was right. Casino was very dark, but I do, for those who haven't seen it or don't remember, He did beat him, but he didn't beat him to death. When he gets thrown in there, he's still twitching. He's alive. He gets buried alive.
Yeah, but he's dying.
He's dying, but he's still getting buried. Could you imagine being buried alive?
That's
like
no
fucking
I'm
hell.
Sorry. That's the worst way to fucking die.
Right?
To get beat down with baseball bats, all your fucking bones broken, thrown into a hole, and then buried alive. Fuck that.
That's
shit.
right before watching your other friend die.
Your brother.
Yeah, but that goes to show you that Hollywood does love a happy ending. Even if it's Scorsese's happy ending, they'll still fucking take it. Here's your Oscar.
I think the only issue I have with Casino is just Goodfellas is so fucking good that Casino is kind of following the same pattern. And that's, I think, if it was done by a different director, but I think everybody's like, I like Casino, but it's not the quality of Goodfellas.
But I've seen Goodfellas.
Yeah,
so.
and that's a problem. And he did it like 5 years after, or 5 or 6 years after Goodfellas. Like if he did it 15 years, it probably would have helped out.
Yeah, I mean, if he had done Casino almost before Goodfellas, and kind of built that up a little bit, I think it would have been a little bit.
That would have been the better way.
Yeah,
to
the
do
better
it,
way to do it.
Yeah.
That also shows the evolution of the Academy. The different people who come into play, how they see what is a good movie. And for Scorsese, I'm sure for a long time it was probably the violence. It definitely wasn't the storyline or the character development or the narrative, because he was a fucking master at that. But the depiction of the violence, I think, is probably what held it back for a long time from Academy's standpoint.
Academy is actually changing. There's been a number of articles written about what the Academy is doing to become, to maintain its relevancy in modern cinema. And part of it is the fact that they're gonna no longer give all their awards to like an Iranian documentary about button making. It's gonna be like a little bit more open into like popular film.
No offense, I'm sure that's very interesting,
that
by the way.
And it's actually nice how they're taking into account all that it is that all the filmmaking process is still considered, but the consideration on how it's been, how the response of the audience is also taken into consideration with these films as well. So that opens up Marvel movies. It opens up Star Wars movies, the stuff that normally would be snubbed to fucking death, aside from the special effects and audio stuff, are now going to be a little bit more considered in Oscars.
I will see it when I fucking believe it.
Yeah. Or the other way around.
They did say, like, after Dark Knight got snubbed, like, oh, we're going to change things up, and we're, almost 10 years after Dark Knight, and
Heath Ledger.
nothing's changed.
Yeah.
He
That was
won,
a step
but I'm
forward.
saying for Best Picture. We're not having
true.
that movie that stands out.
My only concern with that is like I don't want them to base the quote unquote best picture on how much it makes at the box office.
You don't want Medea getting an Oscar.
No, I don't
Basically.
want another Titanic is what I don't want.
You don't want Zac Efron as best actor.
Titanic wasn't shit. I mean,
No, but it also went up against two far superior films that year that should have won like hands
right,
down
but the
over top of
Academy,
it.
think about, and kind of, I guess, repaying it, Avatar, which blew out the fucking box office, and where they give it to? Hurt Locker, the lowest grossing movie. So that, I think, was making that point.
Who's the actress that Meryl Streep? Do you think that Scorsese's the director version of Meryl Streep on getting like nominated
It
for stuff and
seemed
not
like it,
getting the
Jesus.
Oscar?
I love the fact that they had all the directors up there.
He's gotten like one Oscar, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe like one. It's fucking Scorsese. It's Scorsese. He's taught in school about filmmaking. Like there's entire courses about Scorsese.
Yeah,
and he
but
has
Meryl
one fucking
Streep
Oscar.
has won how many times?
Well, she still won it more than any other female actress.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but she's nominated like yearly.
Yeah.
like every year.
Because she's amazing.
But she's also
agreed. No, I'm not trying to discredit her as an actress
but it's a bad comparison.
yeah.
But I'm saying is okay. So the DiCaprio of directors.
He did win his for Revenant.
He finally
not
for
Revenant.
Another
yeah.
remake.
he finally won for Revenant,
Yeah.
and a lot of people felt that it was the Oscar people being like, all right, yeah, fuck, here
I
you
mean,
go.
he should have won it for Departed or
what was it
Wolf
up
of Wall
against?
Street.
Yeah. I was gonna say
Revenant?
he could have won it for Gangs of New York or
No, I would say more so Departed.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
should've
absolutely
definitely-
Departed.
He
Yeah.
should have won it for What's Eating Gilbert Grape as
Yeah.
best
Agreed.
supporting.
Absolutely agreed.
Sorry.
Yeah.
One
But,
thing
like-
to kind of slide into, though, is that Scorsese, his record with De Niro and Caprio, with getting them nominations, I mean, pretty much, if they're in a Scorsese movie, there's a good chance they're going to be nominated for Best Actor, like in the Scorsese movie. I mean, De Niro, I mean, I think half his nominations are Scorsese movies.
Well, that's like if you have like a really good guitarist that's in a really good band, and then you're like, that guitarist is amazing. It's like, yeah, but you're also a good band, and a really good guitarist that gets in a shitty band afterwards. Like, how many times have there been side projects of like musicians that you really like and the side project is shit? De Niro and DiCaprio are killer fucking actors. You give them good material with a good director, they're gonna get nominated for shit.
I mean, I hold Scorsese as helping DiCaprio because after Titanic,
absolutely.
a lot of us are like, I don't fucking give a shit what this guy's doing. Like, whoa, wait. He's working with Scorsese. I guess I'll sort of give a shit. And then you see him in the movies and you're like, I kind of like DiCaprio now.
It's like Zach Wilde in Black Sabbath is different than Zach Wilde in Black Label Society.
You mean Ozzy Osbourne? He's never in Black Sabbath.
Or Ozzy Osbourne, I'm sorry, in Ozzy Osbourne. It's a different thing. You go, oh, Zach Wilde's so good in Ozzy Osbourne, and then you're like, Black Label is like, so is this just for motorcyclists? Is this
It's for douchey motorcycle bros?
Yeah,
That's what it's for.
It's for douchey motorcycle bros. Yeah.
Moto Bros.
Moto Bros,
Moto Bros.
which also is in contention for the name of the episode. Is Moto Bros.
But Scorsese just brings out the best in his actors. I mean, that's the main thing. I mean, you look at De Niro and you look at him in Mean Streets to Taxi Driver and he changes characters with the movies he does, and Scorsese brings that out in them.
Well, I got to say, like, hands down, I think the best De Niro performance I've ever seen is fucking Raging Bull.
I completely skipped over that.
Fucking Scorsese brought such a role, and I mean, De Niro had a lot to do with it, obviously, but
Oh, he had a lot to do with his acting.
it was such a fucking
A little bit.
It was a great
Hold
fucking
on.
role, and he brought so much to it. That movie is outstanding. It can be hard to watch, but it's outstanding.
It's also probably the closest and most intimate depiction of the Italian American family that he's ever done. And because of De Niro, obviously propelled that. And Jessica Lange was his wife.
Yeah.
Jessica Lange was his wife because he used her again later on. But Jessica Lange, I mean, that whole scene when he's like, he's slapping around. I mean, it's just, although that's not the straight depiction of Italian American life, by the way. That was just the most intimate showing of a very common thread in that sort of.
I'm going to write the time down so I can do this and post edit, but I'm going to have a big blinking thing that says, "We are not stereotyping Italians. We are not stereotyping Italians."
It's okay. You have Italians who are present
my
who
family
do
up
not
north.
object.
So I have a
north.
friend that's Italian, so it's okay. Is that what you're saying?
My family up north, honestly, is probably not going to.
Oh no, they're
not
listening
going
to this.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. But they're not going to care.
Oh no, they won't care.
They seriously
because they're Italians. They're like, whatever.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
That
Hey,
was
why don't
the
you go?
dumbest version of that I've ever heard. By the way,
Hey, why don't you
guys
go walk
suck.
over
Hey,
there?
No, just wait till the drunken scene in my
I was going to
Italian
say,
accent.
give me
Yeah.
some time.
Bop-a-da-boopy.
We're gonna have to all like at one point on the second half just do our Italian accent and
I'm gonna do mine like this.
and watch our numbers just drop exponentially.
I'm gonna do mine like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. Did you ever see that shit on
think-
TV?
yeah.
I think most of
and
us
every-
are.
Hey, paisanos!
And every Friday they had the Link cartoon, and I
That's
was so
right.
Yes.
fuck about it. Yeah,
I
yes.
think it only lasted like 3 episodes by the Link cartoon.
Where he tried to get a kiss at the end and is like, "What about me,
That's
princess?"
all you ever
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah. So yeah, Scorsese.
Yeah. So I want to bring up what to us makes it a Scorsese movie. I know for me, and I can say this with every one of them. In the beginning, he sets it up. You know what you're getting. You know going into it within at least 10 minutes what you're getting out of that movie, and you know that, and that's a Scorsese signature for me. Like Gangs of New York, it sets up this nice, slow, suspenseful build-up, and a bloodshed, bludgeoning, murder, death, and then you've got Wolf of Wall Street. It starts off massive fucking party. What's the movie about? This dude basically partying the entire time and just being a complete shit show. You know, he sets up the tone of the entire movie right off the bat.
It could end up being a fucking voiceover. it could end up being like a crazy set of establishing shots, but he definitely has his style, and that's why he, is, in my opinion, a valued auteur.
Like him and other great directors, if you look at the scenes in which he lays out for you, they're not sped up. They're not forced, and they're not here to like, hey, we're just going to sprinkle that in because it looks cool. Like, they are well thought out, long scenes that it really gets you involved into the character and the intensity, depending on what's happening. Probably violence, or maybe some yelling, or gunshots going off. But whatever, maybe just a little bit. But whatever you're in that fucking scene, and then you move to the next scene, and you're into that scene too. And that's what's great about him.
I would say,
amongst other things.
I would say, and I kind of briefly brought it up with his use of Layla, but his use of music with scenes is fucking tops. I don't think any other director can beat out the way he incorporates certain songs. The way, I mean, half the fucking Rolling Stone songs in his movies, let alone just memorable scenes that he's just the expert at taking a song and fitting it right into the right place.
And he somehow just has a way to find the right person to play something too.
Agreed. His casting is on point.
In Goodfellas, when you hear the opening dialogue from Ray Liotta, when he is, oh my God, it's your look said it all.
Oh, it's so perfect,
right? It's fucking beautiful.
So fucking perfect.
Ray Liotta's fucking laugh in that movie.
Yeah. Oh God,
yes.
And he also does this like mouth thing where he like tucks his lips back.
That was young Ray Liotta. He can't do that now. He can't do that now.
No.
Yeah. His face is too fat.
For me,
it's too stretched out.
Does it with his chin.
He's got testicle face.
The material, that I think Scorsese has the ability to take a group of people that are all tragically broken and undeniably bad people and put you in a situation where you are actually rooting for one of the bad people. And I was about to say the least of the bad people, but that's not always the case. It's one of the bad guys that you're just like attached to because of his filmmaking, because he directs you like a funnel towards this one character that you're identifying with in one way or another, whether or not they're bad or really bad, you're identifying with them in one way or another, and you're following them along this story. So when they do tragic shit, you already know they're a bad person, so you just accept it and you move on with the story. There's no moment of like, I can't get behind this anymore. There's like murder, like so much murder, like there's like several bushels of murder in the Scorsese films. Several and a fatted calf, and it was delivered to us like a fucking like a wedding present, or like what is it, the when you pass off the thing to make
the thing, you pass off a thing to make the thing.
When the
sometimes the things
it doesn't matter.
Things are things.
Sometimes things are things. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying.
But basically, because of his filmmaking ability and also the subject matter he chooses, you're rooting for the bad guy most of the time, because he makes them so likable, and that's a really difficult thing to do, and he nails the shit out of it.
The right actors, though. Too.
Yeah,
the right
that too.
Big deal.
He has actually made me hate like certain actors as a result of it. Like watching The Departed, for instance. Like to this day, I cannot watch Vera Farmiga in like anything because I think she is like just the biggest cunt.
Conniving cunt.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, like, oh yeah, you're terrible, but I fucked this other guy, but that's apparently okay.
Yeah.
He's really good at, like you were saying, like you already know this main character's probably bad. Like he's done some bad things. But compared to these motherfuckers right here, he's the golden, like he's just bringing peace and love. Like De Niro or Joe Pesci when at the, what's the scene in Goodfellas? He's walking the guy in the alley at night. And he's like, hey, he walk over here. And it was just like, I mean, it wasn't like, cool. And he's gone. Like, there was no remorse. But, Ray Liotta's character, you saw, even when he did things, you saw that it affected him.
Well, and that's kind of, I touched on that a little bit in the gangster movie episode, but ultimately, the way that Scorsese delivers that kind of like funneling where you like a character is that even if they're a bad guy, there is a set of morality for that character that Ray Liotta admits that when he starts selling drugs in Goodfellas, he's like, I know I'm doing a shitty thing. like is well aware that he's doing a shitty thing, but it's a means to an end.
Right.
Kind of situation. So you're kind of along for the ride at that point. You know that he has a certain way of doing things. Joe Pesci in Goodfellas, for example, you're like, I love this fucking character. You're gonna die. Like, you know, like the minute you're introduced to him, it's like, this dude is not lasting through this movie. He's gonna get like, somebody's gonna murder his face off. Like he'll be murdered to the point where his face is not on his face anymore. Kind of murdered. And it fucking
Off.
happens.
Like in Face Off?
Speaking of that particular part of that movie, did anyone else still question whether or not De Niro's character knew that Tommy was going to get whacked? He acted surprised, but
to this
he was
day.
surprised.
right?
I think
No,
that's
I don't
still,
know. I think
that's still left up to interpretation.
Right? I mean, I always thought he probably. I think he knew.
I don't know.
I think he knew. He was gonna get whacked.
No, because there's one there's like a look that he kind of gives it when you see a little bit of a reaction, but not what you expected.
Not like Ray Liotta's reaction. Where it's like, oh fuck, I grew up with this guy, and De Niro helped raise Tommy. Like fuck, you know.
It was denial, is what it was.
Yeah.
It was fucking denial. He didn't want to think it was going to happen, but it.
But he fucking knew. Exactly. Okay.
He almost had like his own little
And there's
dreidel
nothing
moment.
they can do about it.
Like at the end of Inception.
Yeah.
Like that
It's a
moment
little-
where you're so sure it could be this, but fuck it. It could be that.
All right, we are getting to the break at this point.
Already?
So, yeah.
God damn it.
That's what I'm saying. This is going to be really
Time
hard to kind of tie
flies.
stuff in.
We're doing really. No, we're doing good.
We're getting in there pretty good.
We're doing all
We're
right.
gonna take a short break so you
We're
can
getting
hear
there.
about all
We're
the
getting
trivia
there.
nights that are happening in town for Geeks Under the Influence. When we're coming back, we're going to talk about what we are drinking, get into making a drunken scene, and then talk a little bit more about the Gangland movies, underappreciated films, lesser known stuff that Scorsese's done, like documentaries and all sorts of other stuff that he's done. So
Those fucking things.
all those things. So stick around. We'll be back in just a second. This is Mike the Hobbit, direct from Fallout on a trivia night, telling you to come here every first and third Monday for trivia between 8 and 10, 25-cent wings, drink specials, prizes, and tons of really inappropriate trivia. It's a lot of fun. Do you guys agree? Definitely come out and enjoy trivia every first and third Monday at Fallout. In addition to Fallout, Geeks Under the Influence takes over Wonderland on the corner of 18th and Main Street for Geeks Under the Influence trivia, ridiculous trivia, goofy music, great food, cheap drinks. 1727 East Main. Come and check us out 8 to 10 every second and fourth Tuesday. We're back for the second half of our Geeks Under the Influence Martin Scorsese episode. Before we talk about all things gangster related, and I made a reference about Kundun before I fucked up and didn't hit record. We're not going to talk about that movie at all, probably.
Don't think we need to.
No, not really. I do want to talk about the King of Comedy a little bit. Really, you're gonna
started before I finished.
you're gonna crinkle your water bottle.
I was just drinking it.
Yeah,
He was sucking the shit out of
My
that.
suction did that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he's about to get paid.
It's like Sharon Stone in Casino.
like a golf ball through a garden hose.
Before we talk about golf balls and garden hoses, we've got to talk about what we are drinking, and that requires music. And we've got a new remix
Oh shit!
Oh man.
of the what we're drinking theme. So please to enjoy.
Hey, we're fucking drinking. We're getting drunk. You want to know? Well, here you. Hey, we're fucking drinking. We're getting drunk. You want to know? Well, here you go. Hey.
Oh my god.
But does that sound to anybody else like that song from Neil Diamond about the future?
That's like what? Polka. Hey, what we're drinking?
It was kind of like a polka thing happening. Yeah.
You got Weird Al.
Where's John Candy?
I have to ask Kyle. This
polka.
is like the fourth or fifth remix of his off the cuff theme for what we're drinking. Did you expect it to get to this level?
You know, I wasn't really sure at one point. I knew it would evolve per your disturbed imagination and anyone else out there who was share. I did not realize it would go there.
To polka?
To be honest with you, I have no idea what the fuck to expect down the road.
He
It's gonna
expects
be-
a porn theme.
We're gonna have some Dollywood music behind it.
It's not something
Oh.
We can all dance.
Oh.
it's outside of my wheelhouse, but if any of our listeners want to do like a fucking like dark German industrial remix of "Hey, we're fucking drinking." Like,
Skinny Puppy, hey, we're drinking.
no, I'm thinking like
Ramstein.
Wumpsgut and Noise X, and you know, that kind of.
We could probably make that happen here in this town.
Yeah, probably in this town.
Yeah.
We'll talk to the Synthetic Nightmare guys and see if we can make
Yeah.
something.
Can you
happen.
metallic it up?
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, if somebody could be like, "Hey,
we're drinking. I could do that.
No, we don't want that Metallica.
Wow.
No.
Fucking lion from Wizard of Oz.
I can't remember what I drank."
Oh my god.
I just knew I threw up in the sink.
You have
Nice.
you have a cleaner voice. You'd be better with like a Slayer backing. Because Tom Araya back in the day sang clean vocals.
Oh, true.
More so than now.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
I can't do gravelly vocals. I end up like Frank Sinatra-ing the situation. So
Actually,
How do you
I-
Frank
I-
Sinatra with gravelly vocals?
No, I think if I
It's like,
remember,
my way. Like I was.
No, could
I
we
think it
do
was
like
more
a
of
Bruce
a
Dickinson?
Stone Temple Pilots.
the end is near. So
Is that Tom Waits doing that?
Creepy.
You sound like Louis Armstrong. Not Frank
Yeah,
Sinatra.
that's what I was thinking too.
all right. Obviously,
Sorry.
Off the rails.
Your drunk homeless man
we're
voice.
we're on
Not enough gravel.
we're on the second half of our podcast, obviously, because
Are we?
as always, we're going off the rails, and part of the reason we're going off the rails is because of what we are drinking.
No
so
shit.
We're going to talk about that for just a minute. The Danimal was nice enough to bring a share for us to taste on, and this just released from Hardywood, correct?
Yes, actually, this past Saturday.
Okay.
There are still bottles available.
Nice.
What?
Yep.
They didn't sell out?
No, surprisingly.
Wow.
It's really weird.
They're actually starting to pick up the pace on their volume to match the demand. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And it's stout season.
So what are we drinking?
We are drinking Foolery, which is their first stout release of the year. It is a imperial milk stout that is aged in bourbon barrels. So it's really the first bourbon barrel stout of the season. 13.5% for those of you playing the home game.
Holy shit.
Dick kicker.
Yeah.
That's a
it
castrator. No,
is-
that's a castrator,
That straight
man.
up
Yeah.
is giving me heartburn. I'll be honest
Like
with you.
That's hedge clippers.
you're gonna end up as the Unsullied after after drinking a bottle of this by
Seriously, though, I
yourself.
think 13 above deserves castration.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's not 13.5. It's 13 even.
Either way.
Oh well.
So
Wow, that's the
no,
huge
it's
difference.
It's that 0.5%.
Is it me or is
you
it
know.
thick like Ovaltine?
It's staining my fucking glass, dude. Okay?
my teeth,
like,
my teeth are going to be homeless man brown.
I don't
when
think we
leave
can
here.
actually like show this properly on the screen. Maybe.
It's
You're
fucking
about to
motor
spill
oil.
it right on Grutz.
It's motor oil.
But it's delicious.
It's intensely thick.
Look how it coats. Look how it coats it.
Yeah. It's
pouring it on myself.
the
waste it.
viscosity on this is ridiculous.
That
It's-
is well into wine territory.
Yeah.
As
Like,
far as
You're not even
alcohol
drinking
goes.
it, man.
That might actually taste a little
No,
like
I'm just
Ovaltine.
saying. It's like wines are like 13+%, whatever.
Yep.
It reminds me, it being a kind of a milk stout, it is actually appropriate that cocoa during the winter, when you like turn your cup up and it kind of lays along the side a little
Yeah.
bit, the legs on a cocoa is very similar, like thickness to a cocoa.
So maybe the perfect thing to pair with this is a good s'mores.
A
I don't
s'mores
know.
and this would be absolutely fantastic.
Especially since it's getting, it's starting to chill a little bit outside.
Now, I
Get
gotta-
a
it
campfire
Sounds like
going.
a fucking nap afterwards.
I will say this is tasty as shit. I will preface with
It's-
that,
it's
but I
tasty.
think that the bourbon barreling is a little bit overpowered on the rest of the flavors on this.
Yeah, it's kind of killing the actual milk stout.
Yeah,
flavor.
the milk stout is kind of underplayed to the bourbon barreling. It's still a delicious drink that I would happily enjoy myself, but I think the barreling is just a touch overplayed.
I agree.
Personally.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like a
But the great
sipping
thing
beer.
about Hardywood too, because this is not the first time they've done the Foolery, so
They play with it.
they play
Yeah.
with it. So I mean, well, if they do this again next year, because it may be something they do every couple of years, we could get a completely different kind of taste out of it.
Well, also we're talking out the bottle, and anybody that is a big fan of like craft beers knows that out of the bottle versus off the tap is a different experience entirely. So there's a good chance that out of the tap, this is exactly the right balance. It might be that bottling makes a different change to the beer.
If
but-
anybody would like Tums, we're passing it around.
We're old guys. Okay.
My tummy hurts.
Oh.
couldn't read.
Germans are bad at sports. They can't throw things.
No Tums for you.
They didn't win the Olympics back in
Kyle doing
'36.
Kyle doing his impression of an Eagles receiver. Damn.
Yeah, because you did how well
By
last
the way,
year?
let's
and
not
boom goes
let's not
the
mention
dynamite.
Tums again because they are not sponsoring us. But very quickly, the people that are, amzn.com.
Whoop whoop.
Yay, Amazon!
Oh, he's right. They're Rolaids, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, amazon.com does sponsor us, unlike Tums or Rolaids, and for good reason. We are all big fans of amazon.com. We've gotten so much shit, not only in our personal lives, but through the podcast. The table that the gentleman across from me are sitting at is from Amazon. A lot of the microphones and cords and hell, the board that we're running out of, the laptop that we're running off of comes off of amazon.com. You can support this podcast just going through the link on the main page at gypodcast.com, top right corner. Click through the link, clear your cookies, and bookmark. That way, every time you go through that bookmark, we get credit for anything you purchase. You don't have to spend any more money. The stuff's not more expensive. You're just supporting this podcast with your purchases of comic books or weird sex toys or
Other sundries.
apology gifts to your girlfriend because you were too busy listening to Geeks Under the Influence to remember her birthday. Any of that stuff. Just make sure
That's when you know you've made it.
That's when you know you've made it. Yeah. Just make sure you shop through the link at the top right corner of GUIPodcast.com so we get credit. Next up is, of course, Loot Crate. Loot Crate just finished up Kingdom, which had a fantastic Legend of Zelda t-shirt.
Oh my god!
It was fantastic. It also had a
Lord of the Rings glass.
Lord of the Rings glass and
And a Lord of the Rings sketch,
and
which was just, oh my god!
It was called Kingdom. It was fantastic as always. And I don't actually think I know what the next month is.
Androids.
Androids?
Yeah, it's androids.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I see
Fuck,
it.
dude.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
Aliens.
Blade Runner.
Terminator.
Yeah.
Okay, so
RoboCop?
like fuck the rest. Like
That's what you have to
we
say.
got Blade Runner and Aliens.
There
so
you go.
okay.
Terminator.
Androids really?
What about RoboCop? Is he going to be in
Fuck.
there?
He's not really an
He's not an
android.
android. Yeah.
He's a cyborg.
Yeah.
yeah.
Correct.
Difference,
Fair
sir.
enough. Fair enough. The human, yes.
But
But
Human
anyway,
brain.
it's a monthly gift to yourself.
I do want to mention or attest to their customer service. This box, the Kingdom box, my shirt was the wrong size, and I literally took a picture. Went on the website, took a picture, sent that request in, got feedback within like 3 or 4 hours, saying that sorry, we're gonna mail out the right size, and it takes like 2 to 4 weeks at that point. It takes longer to get it out.
Sure.
I guess like that. But anyway, so I'll probably be getting my shirt when the next month comes out. But I mentioned in my when I asked them, I was like, so hey, I'm just curious about when I can get the right shirt sent to me, and also packagings or means to send the wrong shirt back. And all they said was, we're going to send you out a new shirt in 2 to 4 weeks. They didn't say anything about sending me like mailing the shirt back to them.
I was thinking, if you can give them picture proof of your problem and they figure that that's legitimate, they're not gonna ask for shit back. I had a mug break, and they
Wet box. That
a wet.
That's how Loot Crate does it.
Was that the Batman
That's
one?
the title of the show.
Yeah, the mailman left the Loot Crate out in the rain, and
He gave you a wet box.
The Star Wars coloring book was like soaked through. And they were like, yeah, no problem. And like, yeah, don't send it back. Yeah, we'll just send you a new one.
Lowdown, what size was that? Because if it was like a kid's, like large or medium, that would have been amazing just to take a photo of you
Was
wearing
it
that
no.
Was it a medium?
shit. Like a medium, yeah.
I didn't try it on. I looked at it before. I was like, this looks small. And yeah.
So the moral of the story, of course, is
Their customer service is awesome.
Their customer service is awesome. The service itself is awesome. You just need to sign up for Loot Crate through our link on our friends and sponsors page. Our links on gypodcast.com. Go through that link so we get credit. And when you sign up, you save $3 when checking out to save $3 off your first crate. It'll end up costing you like $15 maybe on your first crate, and then like 17 to 20 after that, depending on shipping costs and everything. And depending on where you live, it's going to be slightly different. And it's more than worth it. We're talking $40 to $60 worth of stuff every month. So check it out. Loot Crate through the link on our links page at gypodcast.com. And now on to what else we are drinking. Sorry, I had to throw that plug in there in between. So Dan was nice enough to bring us the Foolery. Any other beers of note? Let's say of note. So like, I'm not talking about that.
I'm going to talk about the High Life.
Just gonna celebrate the fall season here finally with some motherfucking Oktoberfest, Sam Adams Oktoberfest.
And we said it last year, and I think the year before that on GY. But a lot of people shit on Sam Adams for being like not a real microbrewery. Fuck you. They make good beers, and their Oktoberfest is fan-fucking-tastic.
Now, we also came all over the fact of how good last year's was. How is this year in comparison?
I would say this year is very delicious. It's wonderful and probably going to be one of my favorite Oktoberfests of the season. But I think last year was slightly better.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Last year's was,
I think last year was
astronomically good. Like, it was ridiculously good.
This is a very solid Oktoberfest.
Okay. This one's good.
Very happy.
Okay. Just curious. I haven't drank it yet, so I was just curious.
But the reputation, every year I wait for Sam Adams Oktoberfest because, very rarely is it disappointed. So.
Yeah, agreed. But no, this is a very solid Oktoberfest. I think last year was slightly better, but I'm still not upset. I'm still going to buy more Sam Adams Oktoberfest.
As you should.
To my left, Grutz, what are you drinking on? Since you don't drink anything with bubbles in it.
No, not a beer drinker. I am drinking on Hellcat Maggie, which is an Irish whiskey.
And also renowned for making Anthony fall asleep on the podcast a couple times.
It has done that in the past. And I'm feeling a little...
Nappy.
No, actually, Hellcat Maggie is perfectly, topical for tonight because, of course, Hellcat Maggie... the famous, sort of crazy bitch from back in the day, was actually featured in Gangs of New York.
Mm-hmm.
And
she had the claws.
She was terrifying.
It's disgusting.
Her fucking teeth were filed down into points. Like, that shit was terrifying.
About as terrifying as watching you sleep in weird chairs after drinking Hellcat Maggie.
With a Jewish Bugs Bunny.
Yeah. So...
oh, that's right.
The Jewish Bugs Bunny.
That is what I'm drinking. And it's delicious. So it's a Irish finished in like American like whiskey barrels. So it's good.
And I've had the Hellcat for the price point because it's not an expensive whiskey.
No, it's like $25. It's great. Yeah, for money.
It's solid for the price.
Yeah,
it's a very reasonably priced, halfway decent whiskey.
Absolutely.
And Hunter, both of us are drinking the Oktoberfest.
That's right.
Dan, you're drinking your Foolery. You got any other business?
Not that I've already finished those off.
The business.
Yeah, I've already finished those off. So it was stuff I hadn't tried before, and honestly, it's already in a recycle bin. So
fair enough.
I'm not diving.
Kyle, you're just drinking what you always drink. Either it's not Devil's Backbone this time.
It's Yingling.
It's the original East Coast local.
Yes, it's the original East Coast local.
Yeah.
It was convenient, and to be honest with you, I drink those Devil's Backbone or the craft beers, and I'm starting to know that my body I think it's getting too old to break that shit down. Because I wake up like I had 2 beers, and I wake up the next morning like I like a fucking freight train hit me.
There are certain people. I have a few friends that just cannot drink craft beer. Jash, is one that I'm thinking of. That it actually fucks up his body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate because that's where all the good, tasty beers live.
It's delicious.
It's where
I'm still going to drink it. I'm just going to be smart about when and where. I don't want to sit here and get hammered on it.
Fair enough. Lowdown, you actually have a beer to speak on.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
What are you drinking on?
I'm drinking on Port City's Optimal Wit. I've had it earlier in the summer season. I was kind of wrapping up my summer beers to make way for the fall deliciousness. Oh, yeah. Anyway. So this is the last 6-pack I have of my summer beers left over, and it was actually Port City's Optimal Wit, which is East Coast local. It's a brewery out of Alexandria, Virginia. Belgian-style white ale. Not heavy because it's a summer beer. It's 4.9. And the other one I had was Schlafly's Kolsch, which is good, but it is not as good as another East Coast local brewery, Blue Mountain's Kolsch.
Blue Mountain's,
which we have mentioned multiple times on the podcast.
Probably my favorite Kolsch.
Their Kolsch is delicious.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like Schlafly's is good, but Blue Mountain's is actually way better.
Yeah,
way better.
Fantastic.
So that's what I'm drinking on.
Okay.
Wrapping up the summer beers, man.
All right. So that is what we are drinking on this episode of Geeks Under the Influence. On to the utter, complete, and total shit show.
This is going to be fun.
That is Making a Drunken Scene. Cue the music.
Making a drunken scene.
So fancy. So fancy.
Yes.
All right, so we've got 3 movies from Martin Scorsese, and they're all gang-related, surprisingly enough. Yeah, I know. It's weird.
Get Out.
The first one we're going to go to is one of his more recent films, actually the most recent on Making a Drunken Scene, the 2006 movie, The Departed.
Are you a co-op?
So, this is one of the opening scenes where they're actually recruiting Billy Costigan into being the undercover agent under the Irish mafia. And I'm going to be playing Dignam, the cop. Billy Costigan. Who's Billy Costigan?
That's gonna be me.
Kyle O'Neill will be in proper Irish in Irish form.
Costigan.
Of course, he's going to be in the one Irish mob movie that we're covering on this. Well, there's Irishmen in Gangs in New York, I guess. So.
Well, you're right. It's not a guess; it's a fact.
Yeah. The Dead Rabbits. All right, so we're doing Departed. So
Hey,
whenever.
Who's queening?
That's me.
Okay.
Who's doing the narration?
Oh yeah, we need narration on this one. Anybody want to?
I can do it.
Okay. Fuck. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
No, but let's go anyway. Oh, by the way, anybody that's unfamiliar, I'm terrible at accents, so let's just get that.
Do it.
thrown
Do
out
it.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we're still going to braid you. Let's
Wait,
go.
what?
I'm with you.
I'm with you.
Okay.
All right. During Costigan's interview,
Your fucking family's dug into the Southie projects like ticks. 3-decade men at best. You ever grew up on the North Shore, huh? Well, Lottie fucking da. You were kind of double kid, I bet, right? Huh? One kid with your old man, one kid with your mother. You're upper middle class during the weeks, then you're dropping your ahs, and you're hanging in the big, bad Southie projects with your daddy, the fucking donkey on the weekends. I got that right?
Billy does not answer.
Yep. You have different accents? You did, didn't you? You little fucking snake. You're like different people.
You a psychiatrist?
Well, if I was, I'd ask you why you're a statey making $30,000 a year. And I think if I was Sigmund fucking Freud, I wouldn't get an answer. So tell me, what's a lace curtain motherfucker like you doing in the States?
Hey, families are always rising and falling in America, am I right?
Who said that?
Hawthorne.
Dingham makes a farting sound.
What's the matter, smartass? You don't know any fucking Shakespeare? That was actually better than I expected.
Yeah, it went well.
Not
There you
great.
go.
Not great.
You had a little rocket raccoon going on there. I couldn't shake it, but you know.
I did, actually.
Rocket Raccoon is a Boston detective. Thank you.
You know what? He totally could be.
Yeah. No, he totally could
He
be.
totally could be.
He's probably from Boston.
He's probably made by a Boston scientist.
Yeah, it was a Boston coon they
In
found in
Terra.
the fucking dumpster and decided to just...
No, by the way, that's the name of the episode is Boston Coon.
Oh, I don't know. Can you use that?
That's maybe
No.
not.
I don't know if you can do that.
No.
I don't know if you can do that.
He made him and he locked him in a fucking trunk of a car.
Yeah, in context is funny. Out of context, that's letters.
You know, a police a cop
are
just
you a
had to
co-op?
resign because of saying that.
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So
And
yeah, I
just
don't
to
know
be
about
clear, we're talking about a make-believe
A raccoon.
who
Yes.
Yes.
talks
people.
and has cybernetic attachments.
The fact
Does
you're
not
talking
exist.
slower at that part means we're really trying to fix this shit. Right?
Oh, we're sorry.
Well, I said it. I'm not trying to fix anything. I'm happy.
After
I'm cool.
what the Irish MMA fighter said
This-
at the end of his
Yeah.
match, like
This
let's-
fuck doesn't have to apologize.
Not really.
All right, so the
By
next
proxy.
next one up is Goodfellas from Goodfellas.
I can do this.
Jesus Christ, show the shot.
Now all of you have to do it in Southern accents.
Oh, fuck
Yeah,
that.
there's some good fillers there.
How you
Some
fucking
Goodfellas.
doing, y'all?
We've got to have like Quentin Tarantino do a Southern Goodfellas remake, and it would be fantastic as shit.
He did. It was called, fucking
Django.
Django and shit.
Django. All right, so Goodfellas from 1990. Henry Hill. Who do we got as Henry Hill?
As me.
Lowdown. Tommy DeVito.
That's fucking me.
That's fuck you, Hunter.
This is gonna be
And Anthony. Who's playing
Right here.
Anthony? That is Danwich. And is that it?
Yep,
On that
that's
one?
it.
All right, cool. So whenever you guys are ready, Goodfellas from 90.
great. You're a pistol. You're really funny. You're really funny.
What do you mean I'm funny?
It's funny. You know, it's a good story. It's funny. You're a funny guy.
What do you mean? You mean that the way I talk? What?
It's just, you're just funny. It's funny. The way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how? What's funny about it?
Tommy, no, you got it all wrong.
Oh, Anthony, he's a big boy. He knows what he said. What do you say? Funny how?
Just,
What?
you're funny.
You mean, let me understand this cause. Maybe it's me. I'm a little fucked up maybe, but I'm funny how? I mean, funny like a clown? I amuse you? I make you laugh? I'm here to fucking amuse you? What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
Just, how you tell the story. What?
No, I don't know. You said it. How do I know? You said I'm funny. How the fuck am I funny? What the fuck is so funny about me? Tell me, what's funny?
Get the fuck out of here, Tommy.
Ya motherfucker! I almost had you. I almost had him. You stuttering prick. Yeah, Frankie. What was he shaking? I wonder what you see sometimes. Henry, you just fold under questioning.
Jerry.
By the way, it's actually really hard to find dialogue that I don't have to worry about our rule about not saying racial epithets on this podcast when it comes to Scorsese, because especially his mob movies, holy shit, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
But the reason it gets away with it is that it's actually like it
Context.
puts you. It's context. It puts you in. It's not that he's agreeing with the statement so much as the characters themselves.
That's the way it was,
Yeah.
And you hate to say that, but I mean that's the way it was. So to make it
Especially Goodfellas.
real, there's some rough ones.
I had to dance around that. Luckily, one of my favorite, my favorite scene
So amazing.
from Goodfellas is devoid of any kind of shit that prevents us from doing it on the podcast.
They don't talk about stacks at all. So
Yeah.
that's
I'm
good.
surprised you didn't do the Scheinbach skit scene. There's no racial epithet in that, is
Oh
there?
yeah, Shinebox is good too. But
I mean, there's no. I know there's no racial part in that, but I was surprised you didn't look for that.
I mean, funny like a clown. Come on, like I gotta do.
because clown.
Well, and also
Man,
just
you
like
like it.
that's
No, that whole scene's amazing. It's my favorite scene. Scheinbox being number 2.
okay. Fair enough.
That's what I'm saying.
Fair enough.
This
yeah.
is my
Why don't
favorite
you go
scene
get
of that
your
movie.
shine box then,
Yeah,
right?
get your fucking Scheinbox.
All right, next one up is a period piece that Mr. Scorsese did that
Yes.
also has one of the most amazing villains that has ever been put to film.
Yes.
Indeed.
The
yes.
legendary actor that now I think is no longer.
He's retired,
I
hasn't
think
he?
he's
He
retired
officially
now.
retired.
Well, he's retired like twice before, so we'll
but
see.
he's older now.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis. Sorry, I've been drinking.
Really?
We all
Daniel
have.
Day-Lewis. Yes. Mr.
Lincoln,
Last
man.
of the Mohicans. Mr. My Left Foot.
Lincoln was good, but Bill the Butcher and There Will Be
Fucking-
Blood. They were like,
Fucking,
I'm
I
sorry.
drink your milkshake.
Hey,
That-
don't knock the
Right.
Last of the
That's-
Mohicans was excellent too.
Also, I-
Hawkeye was just.
I
oh my
think There Will Be Blood is probably my favorite role that he's done.
God damn, it's
Bill.
so fucking
That's,
good.
For me, it's Bill.
Bill is
that being
solid.
second.
Yeah.
Very close
Yeah,
second.
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
But Bill is mine.
I
Oh,
agree
that's
with-
hard
I
to.
agree
He was
with Hobbit.
awesome in My Left Foot.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
God.
You're out of here.
No, but he won an
He
Academy
was awesome
Award
in
for
My
it,
Left Foot.
so.
Fuck you. He was. He's Daniel Day-Lewis. He could take a fart and get an Oscar.
What was that Irish film he was in? Where
You're
he-
gonna
Boxer.
be a little more
Was
specific.
it the
No,
boxer?
in the name of the Father.
In the Name of the Father.
Father,
That's
yeah.
the one I was
That
thinking
was a
of.
solid
Great
one, too.
film.
Yeah.
Great film.
Anyway.
Fucking Dan Day-Lewis.
So we're
man.
doing Gangs of New York. There's a very famous scene between Bill the Butcher and Amsterdam, which is, of course,
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio. So who's playing Bill in this one?
I am.
Mr. Grutz is playing Bill on this one. And Amsterdam, who do we got? Danwich is on the move for Amsterdam. So whenever you guys are ready.
All right. No, I don't ever sleep very much. I have to sleep with one eye open. And I only have one eye, right? How old are you, Amsterdam?
I'm not sure, sir. I never did quite figure it.
I'm 47. 47 years old. You know how I stayed alive this long? Fear. A spectacle of fearsome acts. A man steals from me, I cut off his hands. If he offends me, I cut out his tongue. He rises up against me, I cut off his head. Stick it on a pike. Raise it up high so all the streets can see. That's what preserves me, the order of things. Fear. That one tonight. Who was he? A nobody. A coward. What an ignominious end that would have been. I killed the last honorable man 15 years ago. Since then, you've seen his portrait downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Is your mouth all glued up with cunny juice? I asked you a question.
I said I seen it, sir.
Oh, you have a murderous rage in you. And I like it. It's life boiling up inside of you. It's good. The priest and I lived by the same principles. It was only faith that divided us. He gave me this, you know. That was the finest beating I ever had. My face was pulp. My guts were pierced and my ribs were all mashed up. Man. And when he came to finish me, I couldn't look him in the eye. He spared me because he wanted me to live in shame.
Shame.
This was a great man.
Great man.
Wonderful
A
guy.
great man.
Just the best.
I would have fucked him.
So I cut out the eye that looked away. I sent it to him, wrapped in blue paper. I would have cut them both out if I could have fought him blind.
Cup studs.
But then I rose up again and with a full heart and buried him in his own blood.
I bet it was full.
Well done.
He was the only man I ever killed worth remembering.
But I got a bad memory.
I touched him in his place.
I never had a son.
Had like 4 daughters.
Civilization is crumbling.
They're all cunts.
I mean, that's actually a current event thing.
God bless you.
But he didn't really.
You could be shot for that.
He didn't sneeze at all. God is dead.
Oh, man.
I fucked it up, but I was trying to do my best Patrick Bateman.
Hey, they made a sequel
No, you
to
ended
that.
up being a dandy doing slam poetry. But, you know,
I know. It
You're like
totally
Mike-
fell.
You're
It
like
fell
Mike
off the
Myers
rails.
from So I Married an Ex-Murderer.
Whoa, man. Whoa,
man.
It was
We
my
have love,
intention,
just
but these
sex.
things get away from us.
that is true. No, I think we helped you out there towards the end.
Yeah, that was good times.
yeah,
Good times.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, hey, you can't win them all.
So,
Fuck. All right. So back on to the subject at hand.
fucking Martin Scorsese.
Martin fucking Scorsese.
Yes.
We've got so much to
Now,
cover and so little time.
We've already touched over this in the first half, but we should go into more as far as the actors he chooses. He's got ones that he just loves, and 2 of the big ones is De Niro and DiCaprio, obviously.
Right. Yeah,
But he
sure.
does have an affinity with Pesci as well. So,
Yeah.
like, what do you think it is about them that he keeps going back to?
Well, really quick, I just wanted to tell, before you had started that, I was going to try to tell a quick
But you
anecdote.
didn't. So
I was in Vegas and I went to the Pepper Mill, which is where a scene with where they filmed for Casino between De Niro, I think, and Sharon Stone were in there, and They're the illuminated fire pits. Don't know if you remember that scene in the movie.
Yeah.
That really badass place. I had been there, and I had the exact same drinks they had because they offer it. And they'll let you sit there, and then they'll have people come up and start some shit, and you get to hold. It's a very cool thing.
What?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You got the casino experience.
Right.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
And then I realized I was drunk, and we were just starting shit with people sitting next to us.
For an extra $50, Sharon Stone will blow you, which is like.
And that's the actual Sharon Stone,
Actual
not
Sharon
Sharon
Stone.
Stone
Give her
impersonator.
some coke.
That
Is
girl
how it
needs
works?
some money.
Some
Spit out of work a
money.
little while.
Just beware of the ice.
To go with what you were saying. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I stopped everything.
So yeah, I mean, what do you think it is about this group that just keeps coming back? You know,
I think it's actually different depending on the actor. I mean, there's not one specific thing that embodies all three actors into why Scorsese keeps bringing him back. I mean, Pesci, for example, is like, it's Pesci. There's no actor like him. There's nobody that's able to play the roles that Pesci plays. If you were to, let's say, just throwing it out there, throwing Jay Baruchel into his role in
God damn it.
Goodfellas. No,
damn
but
it.
no, I'm going
Dude.
the counter here. Jay Baruchel, he would be too lovable.
no.
And he'd be like, I'm a funny guy. And they're like, yeah, you're a funny guy. And he's like, yeah, no, I appreciate that, man.
I'll take you.
I really
hold on,
appreciate
hold on,
that.
I'll take you on
wouldn't
it. If there's a scene in Casino, if Jay Baruchel could have been taken out with the bats in the scene in the cornfield,
I would have been okay with that.
I've been fine with that. You make a
Perfectly
good
fine
point.
with it.
What I'm saying is, like, there is nobody that can play that role like Joe Pesci. You know, you can have a role that's just a complete fucker, just a complete piece of shit, but Joe Pesci makes him lovable, where you're still kind of running along with the character. That's what makes him the go-to for Scorsese and mob films.
Well, it's important to say that not just Joe Pesci, but he likes a package deal. A lot of times Joe Pesci, De Niro, or even Joe Pesci, and Harvey Keitel, like, or whatever, he uses them what they're great at. And what Joe Pesci is great at, aside from My Cousin Vinny, is is assisting the lead actor.
Don't forget, what is it? The
Super.
No, the Harvard
terrible
movie.
Oh, With Honors was awesome.
Honors.
With Honors.
That was a good fucking movie, dude.
Fucking
so-
movie.
I thought you were gonna bring up Gone Fishing.
That shit made me fucking tear up every goddamn time, dude.
No
Can
shit.
I say?
Die alone like
can
a
I say
dog.
one thing about that? I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies, and has a great line in it, which has stuck with me through my whole life. He's laying on the bed, and they have a discussion. Him has a discussion with Brendan Fraser, and he goes, "You'd be really surprised how the view on the way in is different than the view on the way out, and that people are used car salesmen. You have to trust them, but don't ever expect a guarantee."
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about Joe Pesci. Is he takes these shit characters but makes them lovable, and you want to hate them, but you just can't. Except for when he was first trying to realize what to do with Pesci, because Raging Bull, Pesci was different than you've ever seen him after that. He wasn't that same character in Raging Bull.
True.
He was the one
Okay.
that was trying to help and like be the supportive character, you know?
What's great about what Scorsese does with Joe Pesci is that this dude's almost a midget. And he is the most intimidating motherfucker from the dialogue and the way he acts that nobody in all the movies in wants to fuck with Joe Pesci.
I have a term for that. I've used it for a number of my female friends that are like very tiny. Like I actually use this term for Lowdown's wife, the rabid chihuahua.
Yeah.
That-
Nobody wants to fuck with that.
no, that's the thing. It's like just like a chihuahua, like that bitey little fucker that's like going after you, and you're just like, you are like 4 pounds at best, and I'm terrified of you. That's exactly what Joe Pesci is. That's the Rachel is. That's what a number of my female friends throughout my life have been. These tiny little ladies that are just like fucking terrifying if you're on the wrong side of them. That's
Are you
so
saying
funny.
Lowdown's married to Joe Pesci?
Yes. No, that's not.
Can she dress?
No, I'm not saying by anything other than you do
The
not
intimidation factor.
do not fuck.
She
with
needs to
them,
be that
kind
for
of.
Halloween though, and you could be any other
I,
character.
let,
as
let me
long as
let me
she's-
let me go back over the Rachel part of that real quick. Rachel is one of the most loving,
You know
wonderful.
she's gonna be here next Friday, right?
Yeah, I
And
know.
You can
and
like
that's why I'm.
That's your ass, motherfucker.
She's loving and wonderful and amazing, and I adore her. But it's one of those people that's like you're really glad that she's on your side, because if you're not on her side, you're gonna have a hard time. That's all I'm saying.
You've actually had a Chihuahua bite you on the ass.
Oh, that little fucker. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know.
Dogs love me except that one. That one.
I'm sure Tori doesn't love you. She probably barked.
Oh,
at
not
you.
that one. No.
I mean, our Chihuahua. She'll probably bark at you.
No. Your Chihuahua was just like, hey, and then was like, oh, I'm scared, and ran away.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're talking Ashley and Bob's Chihuahua. Hates me. So
What'd you do to it?
nothing.
Does he think you're going to replace him in the house or something?
That
What?
hippie Russell that
No.
is also hated.
No, just hates.
Just
hobbits.
hates him?
No,
No,
just
no
hates
reason,
hobbits.
no
No,
rhyme or
hippie Russell as well. So
I hate hairy
hippies
short
and hobbits.
people.
Hippies and hobbits.
Hippies and hobbits.
Yeah.
It's almost the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Pacino. I think My Cousin Vinny is the absolute perfect role, or
Pesci.
or Pesci. Sorry, Pesci. The perfect role for him to expose exactly what he is, which he's a shit talker and a half. And you don't want to be in his bad side, but he's lovable as fuck.
During the break, Lowdown, we were talking about the fact that Goodfellas came out the same year as Home Alone. And like, if you watch Goodfellas and then you see him in Home Alone, you're worried for Kevin McAllister. Like, this dude's gonna fuck your shit up, man. Have you seen what he did in Goodfellas? Like,
Yeah,
you have to,
seriously.
like, he has to pull that part away from like that.
Now I just need to have him and Macaulay Culkin do like a weird where he's reading
funny.
lines from Godfather from Goodfellas, and Macaulay Culkin's reading lines from Home Alone, and they try to mash it up.
That would be awesome.
Oh God, if either one of you are listening, which you're not, definitely not, like call in. We can make this happen. We'll put the script together.
So Pesci and Goodfellas, it was like instead of him dying, he just got kicked out and then became the character in Home Alone. He's like, "Fuck it, I'm down in the dumps. And I got nothing. I got a fucking van. I'm gonna start robbing houses."
He runs into Daniel Stern's character
He's
from
running Daniel
Chud,
Stern's-
and that's where they
Yes.
become burglars as Chud.
They
and
become
Goodfellas.
BFFs so soup quick.
Nice poll. by
That's
the way.
right.
Yeah. good
Fucking
poll.
Chud.
So what is it about the one that really astounds me is DiCaprio, because if you think before Departed, he was in The Aviator, right? Was
And
that
Gangs.
No,
and Gangs?
Gangs and Aviator,
Gangs.
then Departed. Yeah.
Okay. So Gangs, he was good, but he also played like a self-righteous asshole little kid that was in over his head and everything. So you kind of,
Bad Irish accent too.
it was almost like Paris Hilton in Repo, the genetic opera, where she was a drug-addicted rich girl.
That's the reference you go to.
Yeah.
Is, his performance was just like Paris Hilton.
Were that what you expected from his previous films? It was like, oh, a self-important little fucking kid that was in over his head. You're like, okay, no, I get that.
No. It was a revenge story, and that's what I dug about.
Yeah, but even at the revenge at the end, he still like fucking, he didn't kill fucking Bill the Butcher. Bill the Butcher was fucked up, and he took that opportunity
Right.
to stab him to
He
fucking
definitely
death.
did, but that was the point, and it was a revenge story, and yeah, he wasn't perfect, and he failed definitely in the middle of the movie.
He super duper failed.
which made all the fucking
He
drama.
failed at the end. The only reason that Bill the Butcher died is because he got like hit with a fucking cannonball, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna die," and he's like, "Yeah, sooner than you think, motherfucker!" and just like murdered the shit out of
But
him.
no, Grutz is right. Like,
Yeah.
DiCaprio was fucked up at the middle. I mean, the whole whoopsie daisy, like that whole fucking scene at the fucking show when
Yeah,
he reveals
yeah.
himself.
Gets
Probably
headbutted like
the
800
Bill
times.
could have just fucking killed him right then. He decided to let him
How many?
give him one more
How
chance.
many times did he headbutt him in that scene? Was it like 5 or 6?
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
it
Whatever
was
it takes.
enough
'Cause
to
I think you
fuck up his
I
pretty
think
face.
you saw
Yeah.
face
Still-
chunks literally on his forehead.
but his face was still pretty.
Yeah.
later.
I was gonna say real quick, Gangs of New York. The one thing about it you have to appreciate is that it helped out Scorsese because the movie before that, fucking Bringing Out the Dead, and also DiCaprio. So they both kind of leaned on each other and kind of pulled each other up to now. After that, you have Aviator, Departed. Like these motherfuckers have helped each other out, like build up these new careers.
Fucking Aviator, man.
God, Aviator.
Oh, Aviator. The first and only film appearance of Gwen Stefani from No Doubt.
That's right.
Was arm candy for DiCaprio, and she had like
Half a line?
2 or 3 words, I think
yeah.
she said, maybe.
She
at
couldn't
best.
do a nude scene. Selfish. Selfish.
No, I'm anti her doing nude scene. I was at a festival in Southern California where No Doubt played before they blew up super hard.
And she got chest.
She was leaning down in the crowd and somebody ripped her top off. And luckily she was able to cover up really quick and said, "Excuse me," like really politely as she ran to the backstage. And then the rest of the crowd got berated by her, I guess, ex-boyfriend at that point.
Dude from Bush?
The bassist.
Oh.
No, the bassist that she used to date and wrote Don't
the little,
Speak About.
The little caramel looking dude?
Yeah.
I think
Just like
Caramel looking
that is
dude?
super not cool.
Caramel.
That's actually assault and like laid into the fucking crowd about that shit. And partially because around where it happened, there was some woos when her top got ripped off, and it was like, yeah, we could see her boobs, and it was like, that was not her intention. And if you got to see them, it's because somebody sexually assaulted her.
Stay away from the scumbag section of the crowd.
So maybe don't do that. and so like I'm really glad that she never got into Boob Town, because I was way far away. I did not see any boobage, and I was like actually really good about that, especially after the fucking berating that happened.
Well, that
afterwards.
sucks. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Although we'd still love to see it. You have more respect for yourself. I get it.
Kyle
and I have
still
respect
sound
for
like
you.
a creeper.
No, I'm saying if she decided to open up her bra to the world, then yeah, absolutely.
That's her decision.
Take us into your bosom.
Yeah.
We're talking. We're on DiCaprio. Anyway, can we
Adjust.
please fucking like just recognize the? So I found a new stage, the cerebral palsy stage, the fucking Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh,
When they take the like fucking
all the
cabinet,
drugs,
the strongest lewd ever, and he like literally is on the fucking ground like a baby. And that whole scene between him and Jonah Hill, like I really feel like Scorsese realized the amount of comedy he could add into when it comes to using DiCaprio, like
Or Jonah Hill.
Well, that was his first time with Jonah Hill. First time and only time so far with Jonah Hill. But I mean, like,
I feel like maybe not the last time.
no, not the last time.
Definitely
First and
not.
only time though.
Yeah, but
that scene,
I have a
when
feeling.
from him getting home and like the talking, dude. I like the first time I saw, I was pissing myself. It's fucking hilarious.
What about just that short scene of McConaughey in that movie? Like,
Oh yeah, just a.
it's a very short cameo, but it's fucking
Yeah.
hilarious.
Well, I think Lowdown actually posted
Yeah,
that.
he did.
Yeah, I did.
On the
I love
group
that
message.
shit, man.
Yeah.
Just like that.
He's only in the movie for like maybe 10 minutes at most, but he makes
One of the
most
greatest
of it.
scenes. One of the greatest scenes ever.
That's what
Yeah.
McConaughey does. All right.
Same year he won Dallas Buyers Club too.
I actually want to talk about kind of the difference on organized crime that Scorsese's gone through. I mean, he's done the mafia like a lot.
Sure.
But in different aspects. He's done the Irish mob in certain regards. And then he's also taken on Wall Street,
which is a fucking
which
gang.
is actually, for anybody that is not part of those industries, is a natural progression. Like, it's a very natural progression. And for somebody to have kind of insight to all these other organized, like, super not legal crime syndicates, to properly show Wall Street in that same regard, he did an amazing job. I'd say rivals Wall Street is one of the best Wall Street movies that I've ever seen.
It's definitely better than Wall Street 2. So
Oh, well, yeah.
yeah. Wall Street 2 sucked.
Money
dick.
never sleeps. I
Money never-
never knew money slept up till now.
Money never Shia LaDouches.
Well, that goes to show you that he, the name itself, the Wolf of Wall Street, he's always he does focus a lot more on the predators versus the prey, and so that is a lot of times. But we've also talked outside earlier, and I mentioned that he is very also focused, depending on the film, is either the absence of family or focuses on the loyalty that you get from family. And he either does one or the other. He doesn't blend them. He really shows you like a character's without and a character with who decides to turn away from it.
Something else that I've noticed with Scorsese films is that he definitely focuses on the predator, like you were saying. But one thing that you do not see from his films is a lot of death of the innocents.
Right.
The people, there's a lot of people that die in his, like a lot of people that die in his movies, but it's never the innocent people that die. Or if it's somebody that's that was innocent, they've gotten like fucked up by the situation to the point where they're so broken that they're no longer
you
innocent.
don't see a bunch of kids getting taken out.
There's of course one or two examples to the counter, but for the most part it's really shitty people murdering the fuck out of other really shitty people, and the innocent people involved, like or like maybe not innocent, but like Departed, the woman that was involved with
the psychiatrist, not innocent.
No. At all, but way more innocent than anybody else in that fucking movie.
But Queenan, I mean, Queenan was.
But that's the thing is, like, Queenan was too pure to live throughout that fucking movie. Yeah. That's the acceptance to the rule. That needed to happen for the next chapter. That was the end of the middle of the. In plays, what is there? The first part, second part, third part?
Acts.
The acts. Yeah. I've been drinking a lot.
Have you had any bit to drink?
That was the tail end of the second act. That was the climax of the second act. And then the third act is the conclusion after Queenan changed everything. Changed the entire dynamic of that film. It needed to happen. It was the sacrifice of an innocent for the continuation of the storyline.
It's like Ray Liotta's wife in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Although you cared about her, you understood that she was just like, would you just fucking stop? Like, I'm done with this. She still never, at the end of the day, she was never an intended victim. You never saw her as constantly being in a threat.
She was actually one of my favorite characters from the movie. Because you saw her
handgun.
Going... Yeah.
Yes.
Like, no, you saw her going from like an innocent person, like a bystander, that got recognized by this like gangster who was flashy, and like she got taken in, and then an hour in, you're seeing her like stuff guns into like places and like
flush drugs down toilets.
Yeah. I mean, she was doing all the things. It was amazing.
Yeah,
like, that character arc was
she totally had
probably one of my favorite parts.
She totally had a Breaking Bad thing going on, but in a much shorter period of time.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we've not got a whole lot longer on this podcast, so I want to do a quick roundabout of lesser-known Scorsese stuff that, aside from all the mobster stuff and everything, stuff that that our listeners might not have seen.
Or they've definitely seen it, but they might not realize it, because I know you didn't realize it when we were doing the discussion.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Was the video for Michael Jackson's Bad.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Way to just take that away from me. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for that, Dan.
It was a gang video.
It was a gang video.
Totally.
Like complete, but
a little more West Side Story.
West Side Story.
Anthony, you've been pushing. There was a music documentary that just got recently put out on, I think, Amazon that you've been raving about.
Which one?
Scorsese, didn't he do? No. I'm thinking about something else. No, he did a Stones video.
He did very much.
Shine a Light, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Yeah. I would say also unappreciated. A couple of his earlier works, Boxcar Bertha, which was basically a Roger Corman produced sort of schlock version of Bonnie and Clyde, which was amazing. Awesome. I thought.
I'll have to watch that.
I haven't seen
Bonnie
that
and Clyde
one
was amazing, but like Boxcar Bertha, didn't quite live up, but it had some seriously good scenes. There was a crucifixion at the end.
You sounded almost sexy, seriously.
It sounds very it sounds very visceral.
Well, the volume came back to my my earphones at that time.
Did it come back to you?
There was a crucifixion on the side of a fucking train car that was pretty awesome. David Carradine hit it hard. It was rough.
Oh, he hit it good.
He hung in there pretty good.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He hung.
Can't not make that joke. Come on.
Might as well.
Yeah, I mean, might as well.
Some might call him a legend.
Oh, really?
Sorry.
All right. I mentioned earlier the King of Comedy. Speaking of movies that don't feel necessarily like a Scorsese flick,
Yeah.
I mean, this is early in his career, and that's really, I think, this is right after Raging Bull. So it was both him and De Niro trying to figure out how to develop different properties and not get pigeonholed into one specific style of film direction, and they did a solid job. King of Comedy is a fantastic film.
I enjoyed it a lot.
And needs to be seen a little bit more.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is some of his '80s stuff, he kind of experimented a little bit. '70s, it's Taxi Driver, it's Mean Streets. He goes in Raging Bull. You get to the '80s, and he's got pretty much King of Comedy, After Hours, which is a fucking nutty ass movie.
That's a weird.
It's got the dude from American Werewolf in London, and
Yeah.
it's just really Cheech and Chong make appearance. It's fucking random as shit.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth checking out.
So that was his experimental phase. That was all the 80s were
It was the
experimental
80s.
phase.
Last Temptation of
Martin-
Christ can't get any more experimental.
Yeah, no shit.
Which I remember watching that as young. And I was never a very religious person, but I remember watching it going, holy shit.
Was that the movie where there was King of the Jews?
Yeah, and they
I don't
also
think they had spirit hands or spirit fingers. There was a lot of sex.
It's called Yiddish fingers.
Well,
it's
it's Yiddish.
Yiddish fingers. That's
Well, and,
different.
that one
Don't
actually.
be racist. That's jazz hands.
Okay.
That one had a lot of
It's
controversy.
Jews'
behind
hands.
It. Yeah.
Jews' hands.
That one had a lot of controversy behind it as well. I mean, after he filmed it, that actually didn't get released for about 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
So that was an earlier production. It was pretty much the first thing that he did after Raging Bull. But just due to the Catholic Church clamping down on him and a bunch of other stuff,
Yeah,
that
they
did not
threatened
get released for
boycotting.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but he knew it had to get out there.
Well, he's a fearless guy. I mean, he's always done Justin. He changes and he goes along. It's like I said earlier. If you look at his style and you look at how it's evolved over time, his style has more or less stayed the same, the way he does things, but he's found a way to adapt it to modern way of watching cinema and how the modern audience looks at a movie versus back then. A kid now may not watch Taxi Driver in the movie theater and feel the same way about it as maybe we did, or
As
or
you
people
did
at that
when
time.
you were
exactly.
Jodie Foster's pimp. Yeah.
And soon to be yours.
By the way, that's the name of the episode. Is Kyle is Jodie Foster's pimp. I need to find my.
Can
pen.
you say smash? I just feel like it works better with the whole pimp.
Here we go. Yep. Fuck, I got it. I got it.
I will say this, is that the era in the late 60s, early 70s, when Scorsese and Coppola and Spielberg and fucking Lucas all were coming out of film school, is a goddamn golden era for fucking cinema, man, or film.
It's the
It really
golden
is.
age. You're right.
That's what made the gold when the Oscars, when he pretty much they were all up there kind of fitting,
Exactly. And you look at it, you look at all these films that are coming out from this era, even the early ones, you see their transition, you see the ones that started becoming popular, that became, movies that could be released in theaters and all these things. And you're looking at really well-made movies by film geeks, film students.
Right.
And this is it, and nowadays we got a lot of shit that's,
Unfettered imagination brought to life.
Yeah. So
one thing I want to cover before we finish this episode about Martin Scorsese is that this is not out of the realm of possibility, because Scorsese has remade movies before. We've got Cape Fear and Departed that are both based on previous films. So moving forward, not just remakes, but adaptations that we'd like to see by Scorsese, or remakes that we'd like to see Scorsese take on.
Face Off.
Oh, come on.
Oh,
You're gonna say any John Woo movie ever? It's the same movie, but without the doves.
No, just think about it. A Scorsese face-off.
No.
How about Broken
God
Arrow?
damn it.
Anything?
No, I will actually say, like, and I fucking, I hate remakes. I hate fucking, like, adaptations way past the date, whatever. The fucking Warriors. He could do a serious fucking version of the Warriors.
Yeah, he could.
That would be a very violent, rated R
his fucking
death match.
gang goddamn influence. Like, his proficiency on the gang culture.
Be so good.
He could make a gang fucking like Warriors movie like nobody else.
I think you just fucking upset me with how good that was. Like, I'm kind of mad.
I have two. One of them was already remade, but I can just ignore that, which is Old Boy. I think
that would be
Scorsese
cool.
would knock that shit out of the park. And this one, just
yeah.
because I think it deserves more character development, is the Raid Redemption. I think you put somebody like Scorsese in there and you build it up a little more. You know, I think both of those movies kind of work.
Well, I'll say this one because I thought the remake was really shitty. If you're gonna redo Red Dawn, do it right. Okay. And bring in a director who I think could actually pull it off.
I don't know if he does foreign stuff so well. He usually keeps it pretty much home.
He won an Oscar for foreign stuff.
Departed.
So
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna disagree with you.
Was a,
Terrible way of saying it. You're right.
Yeah, that's why I went with Old Boy. And
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right.
What you got, Kyle?
Oh, I already said it.
Monster Squad.
Other than Face Off.
Oh, no, not Monster Squad. Although, you know,
No, a Scorsese Monster Squad.
you could totally have
Garbage
something
Pail
there.
Kids movie?
We'll see Wolfman's nards in a
It would be Wolfman's fucking dick.
I'm gonna pop your fucking nard out.
Man, Wolfman's got a fucking cock.
Wolfman's got cock. If there was a way I could get away with that on iTunes, I would totally do it.
I'm running this spice. I'm gonna pop your
all right,
fucking
it's
nard.
so
out.
veiny. Lowdown. Your adaptation or remake?
Yeah, I know. I've been thinking what everyone's been going through theirs.
You want me to come back to you?
Yeah. I'm having a hard time thinking of anything.
I got a solid one.
Oh, do you?
It was remade, and I like to pretend the remake didn't happen, but there's a John Carpenter movie that Scorsese could murder the shit out of called Assault on Precinct 13.
Yes.
You could.
Oh my God,
Scorsese
so
could
good.
do an incredibly good adaptation of this.
Which is interesting because we brought out all these action movies, and Scorsese hasn't technically done like an action movie. He's done stuff that blends into it, but not straight up like Assault from.
But what I like about Assault on Precinct 13 is
Suspense,
it hits
too.
all the notes that
Yeah.
Scorsese hits in his movies, but it's also a lot more action than he's done in his films.
I think we would appreciate the character he developed.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about a Scorsese RoboCop?
No.
I knew you wouldn't accept that. I knew.
What, funny like a mech?
Think about all the cool gang shit he could throw.
Dead or alive, you call me motherfucker.
RoboCop, for whatever reason, loves pizza.
Robo-Pesci.
Yeah.
He's short, and he's got the spray on, so it makes it look like he's got some dark hair.
God damn it.
Robo
All right.
fucking Pesci.
All right, Lowdown. You
I'd
got
buy that for
nothing?
I'd buy that for $1.
I'll buy that
All
for
right.
$1.
So on that note, we've got to finish out this episode of Geeks Under the Influence. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this fucking weird shit show.
There you go. Scorsese RoboCop.
It went a little weird.
Yeah, Scorsese RoboCop,
That's all you have to
which
say.
also, let me just write that down real quick.
Do you need another pen?
I've got like 8 names for this.
Anthony, think of the possibilities. Go tonight when you go home. Just think of it in your head what Scorsese could do. With all that material.
The Warriors was my best fucking.
No, see,
Don't
and
get
I
me
thought-
wrong. Yours was
Showgirls?
Yours
No,
was probably the
Warriors-
best of the night.
Warriors, I
Period.
think, gave me a
Legitimately,
halfie.
yeah.
Like that made my dick move.
Warriors
a
was
little
the
bit.
best, but the possibilities are there.
Oh, there are many.
So
There
many.
are so many.
I think Assault on Precinct 13 needs a revisit by Scorsese.
Yes.
He
like
would-
without Fishburne and without
Yes.
the.
although if we're going Carpenter, Escape from New York.
I was just thinking that.
Yes.
But I don't know.
No, that's way out of his realm. But
Yeah.
that what would be interesting is to do straight up mob style, but in that post-apocalyptic environment. He's not gotten anywhere close to doing anything like that.
Yeah.
Any kind of genre
He
film.
could do that really well because he knows New York like nobody.
Well, and also he could just he could create a treatment and it be something that all you do is you put the fucking post-apocalyptic background behind it and you've got a fucking hit.
What's great is that like this was a post-apoc movie made in the 80s. He could just treat it like it was post-apoc in the 70s and just stop it there and just make it amazing.
Yeah.
That would also go outside of his wheelhouse because he's either done things either past or present. But I don't. Even Hugo was in the past. He's never done anything future, oriented. Just the fact that would have to stretch his ability.
Yeah.
It's all rumors right now, and I think we briefly brought it up, but I mean, the talk right now is that he's talking about doing the Joker movie.
Yeah.
And that would take him completely out.
He's not directing the Joker movie. He's producing
Right,
the
okay.
Joker movie. And apparently it's supposed to be a hard R in the 80s Joker movie, which...
Like a live
given
action.
what DC's doing, where they're actually talking about
begging people.
What's his fuck? Nicholson's character name from the first Batman movie.
Michael Keaton?
No, not Joe Cool.
No, it's not Joe Cool. It's,
no.
I know what you're talking about.
It's it was Jack.
Jack
Yeah.
something.
Jack Napier.
Jack Napier.
Yes.
The newest run of the DC universe, the like 88th iteration of the background
Right.
stories, is naming Joker as Jack Napier.
Oh,
So they
Nice.
automatically give him an origin from
but
the
it's still
start.
Yeah.
something he's involved
That-
with. He's never been in that genre
Yeah,
ever.
takes
But
away
I'm
so
saying
much
is
from
that
the character.
If they're going 80s and DC has already just named Jack Napier, they could do a gangster version with Scorsese as producer.
Hard R.
And hard R. I'm interested, but also I would have to approach that movie as super not canon to Batman to be okay with it.
So although like he's only producing,
I love that Lowdown is like he has a hemorrhoid shifting uncomfortably in his seat.
well, unlike other characters he's done, which on some level you can see logic in why they've done it. Maybe except for Joe Pesci and Goodfellas because he was just crazy, but you still saw logic in why they did it. And he was able to put that and direct his actors that way.
Yeah.
How would he do with a character that is based solely around anarchy? There's no rhyme or reason. There's no logic. How does he write or direct that? Because he really hasn't shown that much experience with doing that. There's always some sort of psychological reason or justification for why these people do what they do.
He's worked with Shia before, right? So he has some experience dealing with that.
How does he
long
bring that to the
as-
fantasy realm?
As long as in the Joker movie he doesn't have some emo douchehead that fucking destroys the fucking movie, I'm fine with it, all right? Like,
Andrew
let's
Garfield?
just get Jared Leto out of there and put somebody else in.
Jared Leto. Fuck Jared Leto.
I think Martin Scorsese very masterfully sort of gets into the like psychology of people, no matter what the character. But if you're talking about anarchy, he could do it. He could find a way because he has done it in so many different films. Whether it's like destitute dude, that is like ex-Vietnam vet, and and fucking like Taxi Driver, whatever. It doesn't matter. He is able to find that character and put it on screen masterfully.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what kind of worries me is trying to bring too much logic to that character, which he may do.
Right.
Or assist in.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing what happens, not only with Scorsese moving forward. The Irishman, the storyline there sounds fantastic.
Yes.
It's it involves Jimmy Hoffa, who's going to be played by Pacino, apparently. Yeah. And there's a hitman that
Unions.
apparently was involved with his murder. I guess it's the
It's
storyline.
played by De Niro, yeah.
Yeah, De Niro. So, this is going to be a straight up, like, Irish mafia fucking, like, movie by Scorsese. So, not only are my balls and dick in, but, like, my entire body is so deeply into this fucking movie.
It's also worth mentioning that it's the most expensive Netflix property to date. I
Yeah.
think
Is
they're paying,
DiCaprio not in this one?
I think they're
How many?
paying $100 million for this.
Something like that, yeah. So
Wow.
we're going to talk about that more on GUIpodcast.com as it comes out. We're going to have articles and further conversations on later episodes. But for now, this is the end of this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, and definitely subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, anywhere you get your podcasts. And also thanks for the use of Little Girl by the Gajira Experiment on the intro, and for the use of Dead by Dawn on the outro by the Creepazoids. And as always, I'm Mike the Hobbit Bickett. Join us or die.
Shut the fuck up, Hobbit.
Join us or die, or I will swallow your soul. Necronomicon gives us power to rise from the dead. You play to take, our claim begins to spread. You can fight all you want, cause you don't to resist. We're here to take the world and rule with all your fists. So join us or die, join us or die, or I will swallow your soul.
GUIpodcast.com